just some that I saw were dealing with grief and dealing with loss. And I thought about these kind of to open in devotion tonight. One is Psalms 147, verse 3 and 5. It says, he heals the brokenhearted and bandages their wounds. How great is our Lord, his power is absolute. His understanding is beyond comprehension. So I think as we're talking about grief and sadness and hurt, loss, I think about he heals the brokenhearted and bandages their wounds. And I think of that also emotional wounds and not just physical wounds. When I think about grief and loss and how wonderful our God is that can help us through that. Another verse I'm looking at is Isaiah 41:10. Says, don't be afraid, for I am with you. Don't be discouraged, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you, and I'll uphold you with my victorious right hand. I think about, I was with my uncle in the hospital today, and he's not doing well. And I think about, for him, knowing that God is with him. And he says, don't be discouraged, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I know physically he is very, very weak. He's 95. And I think about God saying, I'll strengthen you and help you. Sometimes that's not always physically, but it can be spiritually and emotionally. But it can also be physically, especially for those that are near end of life. I think how discouraged sometimes they are and how lonely it can be and what a struggle it can be. So I think about God giving you strength and helping you and upholding my uncle with his right hand. And I think about Galatians 6, 2 and 3. So share with each other's burdens, and in this way obey the law of Christ. If you think you are too important to help someone, you are only fooling yourself. You are not that important. I think about the importance of sharing burdens with people, and I think as you all begin to do your verbatims with people this week, or maybe some of you have already done that you are sharing in their struggle. You are sharing their burden with them, of being able to listen and hear about their grief and their hurt and what they have gone through in their past or currently going through, and how that will be a really special help to them to know that God is bringing you to be there for them, to allow them to share with you about their loss. And so I think that can be a very important time to some of those that you're going to be talking with. So those are just some verses that came to my mind today. So let's pray before we get started. Dear God, thank you so much for being our helper and our support, our encourager, and walking with us through some really dark times in life. There are people around us that are really struggling and hurting and trying to find hope. And Father, you are the one who can give hope. Continue to help us to share that hope with those around us that don't know you. Father, also help us to encourage those that are dealing with physical issues and emotional issues in life that get them so discouraged. I pray you'll give us the insight to be aware of those that we need to speak to. And Father, thank you so much for helping us through the valley. We are so blessed to have you, and we are so grateful that you love us and care for us. In Jesus' name, amen. All right. So I'm assuming everybody got their quiz done from yesterday, had it completed. And this week you have the verbatim to do. I'm wondering, would somebody like for me to do do an example of a verbatim with somebody, or a counseling kind of a situation, and kind of watch how I do it to kind of give you an idea of what that would be like when you talk with somebody. Would that be helpful? I could be the counselor and somebody can be the one who wants to share something. And I'll try to use those statements and open-ended questions and observation statements and those things that we practiced or talked about last week. Would that be helpful to anybody? Okay, we got one yes, 1 out of 11, or 1 out of 10.
Yes, I think that would be helpful, ma'am.
Would that be good?
Yes, ma'am. That
Yes,
would be
ma'am.
good.
Okay. Would somebody like to be, in English we call it the guinea pig. That means would somebody like to be the one that I do the counseling with? Do I have somebody who would like to volunteer? Pardon? You want to, Randy?
I second
Oh,
the motion.
Janice, are you being volunteered? Janice, would you like me to
I volunteer Collins po.
would you like to volunteer? And I can work with you.
Maybe we could have Collins po.
Oh, Collins, are you volunteering?
No, ma'am. I pass it to Pastor Delmas.
You will counseling us. You mean?
Yes. Yes.
I want to be counseling.
Okay.
Ma'am,
Yeah.
ma'am,
Yes. Yes.
I think we have the one here, Ma'am Faye Koyoy. I think she's
Pastor Delmas, I would like to, but Joanna volunteered already, so that's okay.
Am I the only one?
Joanne, you're the only brave one in this whole class.
Oh, you are counseling me and free, right?
Yes, I'm counseling you.
Okay, I will learn.
Is that okay?
Yes. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Can you think of something that you had a loss in that you would like me to talk to you about?
Oh,
Now-
you know?
Now, it can't be something really that will take the next 2 hours. Something that I can do maybe in about 10 minutes.
Okay.
Because we need to also go on and do some other things, but it's just to give you an idea of how to use those statements. I need to write them down. I have to use observation. And what were the other ones? Silence, observation, open-ended, clarification. I forgot what the other one was. What was the other one? Open-ended questions, silence, clarification.
Self-disclosure.
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 Okay. I got them right here in front of me. Okay. Now, I'm going to use some of them maybe correctly and maybe some not correctly. So you guys have to observe, and then I'll ask Joanne for feedback, and then what it was like for her, and then I'll ask you all for feedback, okay? All right. Okay, Joanne, did you think of something that you would like to talk about in our conversation? Something that you lost or some loss in your life?
Yes.
Okay. Hi, Joanne.
Okay.
It's good to meet with you today. I wonder what's happening in your life. What's been going on? You wanted to get together and talk.
Okay. So I'm thinking, because I will share. Yeah, someone saying it's a lost boyfriend. Yeah, I won't share that part. Yeah. Okay. Because when I was a child, I feel I'm lack of love. Like my parents, they didn't share much love to me. They never saying I love you, never hug me, and my father is not a normal father. He never praised me like say you good job. And he never lead me went to restaurant. So it's like I lack of love. So when I grew up as an adult, then someone saying, "Oh, I love you," then I believe that is true. Maybe the person treated me in a good way. Then I feel the person is so important because I like love. Then I'm thinking love, and I want people love me. So I put the person in my heart, and I say he is someone important, and I see the person will spend life with me, and the person say, "I love you. I will never leave you." So emotionally, I very depend on the person. It's like that. But the person, yeah.
So it seems like let me just clarify this. So it sounds like you didn't have a lot of love when you were growing up.
Yes.
You didn't get the love from your parents. So what was that like, not getting love from your parents? What was that like for you?
It's like there's no one love me in this world. It's like I'm not worthy. I'm not being loved. Even I'm not good. I thought that because I'm not good enough, I'm worth. So this is why my parents, they don't love me. Yeah.
So because you didn't feel that love or have that love expressed to you, then you feel like you're not loved, and you're missing that love, or you wish you had that love.
Yes.
So go ahead and talk some more about, now you have a boyfriend?
I mean, before.
Okay.
So it's like I depend on the person, and I ask him like some require, he need always say yes. And it's like some depending. I mean, I don't know how to say. I depend on him. If the person leave me for 1 week, I will feel some uncomfortable. I mean, it's not normal. I feel I lack something, even physically. I feel a little bit, I don't know, it's nervous or afraid or something. So, the problem is I will hold the person very tight. It's like I don't want person go, and I want he pay attention on me, and I want to more love like that. And there's some problem. I will cause the person tired, because I feel I'm lack of love.
Yeah.
So there's some problem in my relationship. Even I realize I shouldn't make the person tired. I shouldn't see him too important, and shouldn't I put all my emotional attention on the person. But seems I cannot control myself. So I will make the relationship become tired, struggle, and even not normal. Then what will happen? The person will want to leave me because he is too much stress. Then the person leave me. For example, before I had my boyfriend, like he just suddenly cut up the relationship. But for me, I already depend on him. There is a relationship connecting. It's already built. And he suddenly cut off the relationship.
It sounds like it sounds like that relationship was very, very important to you, to have the love from someone.
Yes.
Maybe the love that you didn't get from your parents.
Yeah.
That you would be able to have that love from somebody else. I wonder if that was, if maybe you clung too much to him.
Yes.
Was that part of the issue, because you were feeling so needy, or feeling like you didn't have the love and he was somebody who came and showed you love?
Yes.
So it sounds like that was a really hard thing for you then when he broke off the relationship. Sound like that was very painful to you.
Yes.
What was that like for you?
The background is we are students in one school, and when we graduate, we went to our countries. Then we separate at that time physically, and he also said break up at that time. Even I don't want. So suddenly I feel is I lost a person who very important and the one only love me. And second, I feel the world is broken. It's like, and because we spend a lot of time together, so I already familiar with the person accompany me. I feel comfortable and I'm dependent on him. But when he suddenly leave, then I just feel it's like the world is like broken. I don't know how I can keep going my life.
So what are your feelings when he left you? What were you feeling? What are those emotions that were going on
So
when he
first,
broke it off?
I feel sad. I
Feel
have
what?
sad, sadness.
Oh, a lot of sadness. I can hear that. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
and
can hear
I
a lot of
feel
sadness.
upside, emptiness.
But what were you sad about? Can you tell me more about that? What was the sadness about?
It's like okay, when the person leave, that time I'm in another country. We graduate, every teacher leave, student leave, and he leave. Only myself stay in that country. So I cried every day, and I cannot eat normal. And even I go to the place before, we always spend time together. And I sit by by myself, and and that's has a lot of memory before how we spend our time. So and I cry like that. I mean, how I sighed.
It was a lonely time for you. Really lonely time. Sad time.
Yeah, I feel lonely, empty. Even I had some physical feeling like with body pain, like my arm a little bit painful, and then my heart has some problem. And when I go out alone, I feel afraid that time. I don't know why. Like when I take the bus, go to somewhere, I feel afraid. It's like some feeling like even the place I'm familiar, but I feel the place is strange for me. I don't know. I look at the street, I feel weird and strange. Yeah.
You feel strange there. Strange because he's not with you, or
It's some feeling. I mean, the feeling may be a little bit like depression. So that feeling not real, but it's strong. Yeah.
the sadness and the depression
Yeah.
and being so alone again, at being alone again,
Yes.
because you didn't have that growing up with your family. You didn't have that love, the closeness, it sounds like. And now you're alone again. And it's really painful.
Yes.
I'm sorry that was so hard for you. It's a hard journey
Yes.
to let go of that pain and to and part of that's a normal process of going through the grief of letting go of a very important relationship to you. The very normal feelings that you're going through, and it's okay to be sad. Okay. All right. Joanne, how did you feel about that? Our conversation. What we talked about. How did you feel me counseling you? I'm cutting the counseling session now and just wanting feedback from the class, what that was like. What was that like for you to talk about?
It's like, okay. So first, you pay attention, listen to my story. Yeah. So Actually, it's happened a long time, the things. Now I have no feeling. I just
Okay.
repeating the story. But if at
Right.
that time, okay, if at that time you are listening to me, I will be comfort.
Mhm.
And you declare my speaking. It's like you try to understand what I'm saying. I mean, you make clear and right point on what I said. So
Okay.
yeah, you paid attention, and you said, "I'm sorry for you." Yeah, so it seems like you understand me. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. How about some other input from everybody else? What was it that I said that you thought was helpful or maybe not helpful?
I think you use the open-ended question, ma.
Mhm.
Yeah. So that is, I think for me, is very helpful because Joanna, after sharing another story, you were able to find another way to let her open more.
Mhm.
Yeah, there is a guidance there. So I think that's for me, ma. Yeah, the
Okay.
counselor is good and uh, thinking. What's that? Asking question, uh, open-ended question.
Okay. Okay. What else did I use that was helpful? Go ahead. Somebody else.
For me, ma'am, I think the way you were trying to normalize the sadness,
Mhm.
like when you said it's okay to cry, it's okay to be sad,
Mhm.
and also like following up with after reflective questions, you would go on and ask another question. That's a good way to do it. I don't know, ma'am, if you were like doing it on purpose, like interrupting, or
Mhm.
is it because of the interest for the interest of time? I don't know, ma'am.
Yeah. She was talking on and on and on, and I was thought, okay, part of it was like I wanted to show you all a sentence or statement or some kind of observation that would help show you all, but I don't know if she was going to keep talking. And then part of me thought, oh, I shouldn't cut in and I need to use more silence. I didn't use much silence, and it would probably have been better for me to just hold back and just let her talk. So part of that was, should I just let her talk? And part of me was, I have to be careful that maybe I don't speak too much. Joanne, did you feel like I cut in too much and I should have let you talk more?
Um, if in class we are just for example, we have 10 minutes only, it's okay. But if in normal you are really counseling me, if you cut off my speak, maybe next time I don't want to talk with you. Yeah, I don't think you won't be my counseling. Yeah.
Right, right. Yeah, so I was kind of like, I really want to show some example, but it's like, I don't want to cut in. It's like, so I was kind of torn. But part of that is that I have a tendency to have a harder time with being silent. And so that's one of the issues that I have to be careful of, and to be able to just sit and be quiet and just to listen and to let her know that by nodding of head or or just a little I see, or just a couple little words here and there, so that she knows that I'm hearing her.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yes. Hmm. Sure. 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 Any other observations, positive or negative? Okay. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. So what I hear you saying is that it was really hard for you growing up. You didn't have a lot of love. And so it sounds like you're trying to find that love in this relationship with your boyfriend, what you didn't get growing up. So that's kind of clarifying. So what I'm hearing, you know, or what, let me understand this a little better. So what you're saying is when you grew up, you didn't have that love and I used a lot of it sounds like, it looks like, what I'm hearing. Those are more observation statements. And I don't think I used any closed questions. I don't think so. See how the open-ended questions help you to move on and help them. Observation are really good for people realizing or feeling that they're really heard. So what I hear you saying is, or sounds like, it was really painful for you. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's good to it's good to focus on one before you move to the next. But sometimes they will jump from one and they will move to another, and then you have to. So, and I allow, you know, let them jump to another if they want to. But sometimes I say, you know, after they get to another thing, I may say, you know, I'm wondering, you know, we started talking about your mom and how difficult that relationship was, and then you changed and you talked about something else. I'm wondering if that was because it was too painful to talk more about your mom. You know, so if they change a topic, or maybe from a real heavy topic to a real lighthearted topic, maybe it's because it got too heavy for them and they couldn't deal with that anymore and they had to get more light. Like if somebody dies and you start talking about that, but then they don't want to get real sad and get and deal with those feelings, they may change to a more lighter topic about something else so they don't have to deal with the more sad feelings. And sometimes they can't deal with those sad feelings, and it's okay to go with them in the direction that they're going. Sometimes you can point that out and say, you know, I noticed we changed from talking about your grandmother's death to talking about, you know, school and things. And I just wondered if that was really hard to talk about your grandmother. Maybe it was easier to talk about school, and so that's why maybe you switched. I don't know, but I was just, you know, wondering, you know, I mean, you could ask those kinds of things if you want to, if you think that maybe they're wanting to just not talk about the grandmother anymore because it's too painful. And if they're not ready to talk about it, then I don't go there either. If they say, you know, it's just too hard for me right now. And you say, that's okay. It's okay if it's too hard, you know. Then they don't have to, you know, have to talk at that time. And it may be too difficult for them to do that. Or sometimes I say, you know, tell me what that means about, it's really hard to talk about your grandmother. Tell me what that means to you, or can you unpack that a little? Tell me a little bit more about it's really being hard to talk about that grief. You can do that, and I use that oftentimes. You know, tell me a little bit more about whatever. Mm-hmm. And sometimes they can't handle it. If you're working, especially with younger people, oftentimes young people, you know, like teenagers, they may be able to deal a little bit with it, but then they want to go out and play basketball or go out and play soccer or go out and play, you know, something. And then, and you think, well, they're not really being serious. Grandmother just died and they're out playing basketball. Well, they can't, that's the way they handle it. They can't handle, necessarily sitting down and talking at length about grandmother. A lot of times it's just here, there, and yonder in conversations about different things. They can talk about it. It just depends on each person as well, but sometimes kids need some space. Adults too need space, and everybody deals with grief in different ways. Some are able to talk about it, express it, deal with it, process it, and others, they deal with it in different ways. Sometimes it's not healthy, and sometimes it's really healthy and helps them move on. Okay. Was that helpful? Is there any two of you all that would like to do it with each other?
Just a clarification, ma'am.
Yes.
Regarding the giving of a space, ma'am.
Uh-huh.
Giving of a space. Yes. For example, I lost a member, and this member didn't attend for how many months. So my question is, in giving space for them to think about how many months or how many days we can allow them before going to visit them, like that, ma'am.
Usually, now are you talking like it's right after a funeral, you mean? Or
No, ma'am. Maybe a member had just a something that
affected
the
them?
person in the church. So that person did not attend for how many Sundays, how many months. So I'm talking on that, ma'am, not on the funeral.
What do you all think about that in your culture? If somebody doesn't come to your church for maybe 3 or 4 Sundays or for a month?
Yes,
I mean,
because
go ahead.
Yeah, for us, for me, I think it's okay to visit them after you did not see them for a one Sunday like that.
Uh-huh.
But maybe there are other people, because I heard some others that if that person did not attend for how many Sunday, give them space.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I just want to ask this to confirm if that is right to do, because some other might, if you did not visit them after you did not say them for one Sunday, maybe that is also not good, like that.
I guess it depends what kind of relationship you have with the person. And I teach a Sunday school lesson with ladies, and probably if somebody doesn't come during that week, we're all on a messenger. And so right after Sunday school, if somebody's not there, we're texting on Messenger, and it goes out to everybody in our group. And so we're checking on somebody if they didn't come, if they're sick, if something happens. So we do it pretty quickly. It's a little different with a pastor, but I don't know, in your culture, would it be appropriate to visit that next week? Or would you wait a week and see if they come back the next week? Sometimes here people are traveling or going places, so sometimes if they miss a week, that's not a big problem. But if they miss 2 weeks, then it's like, I better check on them. But I don't know in your culture, if the church is real small, everybody knows everybody. Sometimes you can ask friends and say, I noticed somebody wasn't here. Do you know why? What do you all do in your culture in the Philippines? Do you wait a week? 2 weeks?
There are times, but maybe.
Do you call? Do you text? Do you?
Yeah, I message them, mom. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I message the day, usually Sunday evening I message and I say, we missed you in Sunday school this morning. Are you okay? Just to let them know that they were missed that day. So if you do messaging, that might be appropriate. We missed you, this week.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? All right. Okay, hopefully that was a little bit helpful to kind of give you guys an idea of what to do. The other thing is we also talked about last week the different levels of communication. The just hello. The other one was facts. The other one was a little more information, then feelings, and then deep feelings. So there's like 5 levels. With her, I tended to go down to some of the deeper levels because I talked about feelings with her. So when you're in conversation with somebody, it's okay to label feelings. If you hear some feelings come up, whether they're comfortable or not, and it depends what you're talking about. If it's something dealing with a loss of somebody or something, usually there's feelings involved with that. So it would be appropriate to talk about those feelings. My grandmother died. What was that like for you? It was really sad. Oh, it sounds like, lots of sadness dealing with that. So helping them to be able to talk about feelings is very appropriate when you're talking about loss. Sometimes we're not comfortable talking about feelings, but hopefully you can get more at ease with talking about feelings as we go along. So I had a seminary student at Golden Gate Seminary when I was there, and he had a hard time talking about feelings. And he came to me one day. He wanted to be a pastor, and he said, I have a really hard time dealing with feelings. He said, would you help me be able to talk about feelings? I said, are you sure? He said, yes, I need to know how to do this. So every time I saw him on campus, I would go up to him and I'd say, how are you feeling? He'd say, fine. I said, fine is not a feeling. Happy, sad, glad, mad, you have to label feeling. So every time I saw him, he was on campus every day. He lived on campus, and I lived on campus. So I would see him. It was a small campus, not very big. So we saw each other often. And so usually once a day I saw him, and I would go up and ask him, how are you feeling? Happy, sad, glad, and it was interesting how he began to be able to talk about and label the feelings that he had. And that's important if you're in ministry, to be able to voice the feelings that you have or that somebody else has. So, yes. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Yeah. 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 And it's not an easy thing, if you're not used to it. It's to label feelings. I know my husband, he is a very cerebral person, very head person, and it is extremely difficult for him to label feelings. So it's been hard for me to be able to kind of gauge where he's at. I'd say, oh, what do you think about that? He says, that's fine. I said, well, what's fine mean? He said, what's fine? And I'm like, okay, I guess that means it's good, or it's like he's happy about it. Or so I've had to learn from him, even though he doesn't know how to label feelings well, what different things are, or where he's at emotionally with things, from learning some other words. But it is an important, especially in the ministry, to be able to label feelings. So, all right. Let's do, anybody else want to practice? Should we go ahead and do the PowerPoint then? Okay. Who is our PowerPoint person?
Mr. Randy.
Randy, can you go into, I put up a new PowerPoint in session 4 that we're going to use tonight. Let me see if I can get it up. Let me try. I can't get why that does not come up. It's grieving and adjusting to losses in life. It says for class June 29th or 28th, 29th. I don't know why this is not coming up. No, cancel. All right, let me see if I can go back in. It's in session 4. It's the PowerPoint that I put up there. You see it?
Yes, Ma, I see it.
Yeah, I think that's the one on module 4.
Yes. All right, let me see. That's it. I don't know why, but I can't put it up. Oh, well. Okay. These are some things we're going to talk about tonight in this PowerPoint. The normal phases that you go through in a crisis, some coping and effective coping and resolve grief, ineffective coping. Anyways, we're going to go through these. Let me see. I don't know why I can't get that up. Let me see. Okay, that's not going up, is it? Oh, you know what? I think I've got it. Can you take yours down? Let me see if I got it. Oh, I don't. I don't. Okay, you're going to have to put yours back up. I'm sorry. I don't know why. It's not going up. Oh, well. Okay. All right, let's go on to number 2. All right, let's go on to 3. All right, these are the phases of a normal crisis that you go through that Norman Wright talks about in your book. I'll go on with the next one. All right, and these are the phases right here that he has. The impact phase, and then you begin to have a lot of confusion, withdrawal, and then the phase 3, learning to adjust, and then reconstruction. The next one gives a little bit more information about each one of those steps there. The phase 1 is usually hours or days after a crisis happens. Then days to weeks is in phase 2. Phase 3 usually weeks to months, and then phase 5 is several months away. Then you start to have reconstruction. And these are the different things you go through. In the beginning, you stay and you face it, or either that or you withdraw. Sometimes you're in shock, you're kind of numb. And phase 2, there's a lot of emotions, anger, depression, and you have a hard time processing things and thinking well. Sometimes you begin to bargain with God and say, well, if I do this, will you make me well? Or those kind of things. Sometimes you want to pull away from people. Then adjustment is when you start to have more intense emotions sometimes, but you begin to start to also have some positive thoughts. You feel like you can begin to start to figure out life and how to find some answers to things. You begin to find some direction, and then reconstruction, then you feel like you're more hopeful. Things are going to turn around. Things are going to go well. You're able to think and process things clear. You're not as tired. So those are kind of the process you go through. Now, I also, go ahead to the next one. This is where you see where you have the crisis and trauma, and then you have the possible loss, and then you've got two places that people usually diverge in. Either they'll go on and find some effective coping, or they will not have effective coping. And that's when you oftentimes have to get them into counseling or get some help for them. And I think about this in grief. Going to the next one. Kubler-Ross, in the next slide, Kubler-Ross is a famous doctor that observed people that were dying and the different stages that people went through. And so what she came up with, I'm trying to think if I find that page. I think I pulled it out tonight. Where did I put it? I had a paper tonight. Paper. Oh, here it is. Okay. What Kubler-Ross said when she looked at people that were dying. Now, this is her stages of people that are dying. She said they first begin with denial. If they find out they have cancer, they deny that they have it and say, well, no, I don't really have it, or, you know, or they end up with a great deal of shock with it. So that's the first stage. And then they say that after you find out about that you're dying, then you have a great deal of anger. You're really mad because my life is going to be cut short, and you're really struggling with that. Then you have the stage of bargaining sometimes with God, or with, you know, if I do this, God, then would you heal me? Or if I do such and such, then if I quit smoking, then will you take my lung cancer away? Or then finally, after that comes the depression and the sadness, and then comes the acceptance. And those are the stages that Kubler-Ross noticed that a lot of people who were dying were going through those stages. Now, sometimes we've also looked at this and said, it's not just people that are dying that are going through these stages, but also people that are losing loved ones that are dying. They may go through these stages, some of these stages as well. I noticed in Asia, when I worked in Korea, one of the things I noticed is that in Japan and Korea, and I think in the Philippines as well, we tend not to want to tell somebody that they are dying. And so what happens is, if you don't tell them, they have a really strong sense of hope that they're going to live and they're going to make it, because nobody's telling them that. They're in the hospital, they're very sick, and they're getting sicker, but they have a sense of hope because nobody wants to tell them they're dying, and they're thinking, I'm going to get medicine, they're going to treat this, I'm going to get better. They have a great sense of hope. Then they start to have some suspicion because they're not getting well. All of a sudden they're feeling worse, they're not able to function as well, they're sleeping more, or they're more in pain. Anyways, they start to have suspicion as the cancer gets worse. Then they start to have anxiety, and they have fear, and they're afraid to talk to people about it and ask about it, because they don't want to hurt anybody or want other people to feel bad for them. So oftentimes they don't ask. And in my notes here, I have down an extroverted persons may ask about their condition, or they may express a lot of anger. Some people may be very silent and kind of withdraw at that point with the anxiety. Then it talks about a lot of patients, then if they don't ask and nobody tells them, they tend to go more into depression and be very sad and very depressed and withdrawn. And then after they get through some of that anger and the depression and the hurt there, then they go into resigning the fact that they are probably just going to die. So there's different ways of looking at whether you tell somebody they're dying or whether you don't tell them. If you don't tell them, most of the time they already know it. Usually by the time they get to the third stage, they're getting very suspicious about why their health is not getting better, why people aren't really talking to them. Everybody's being kind of quiet and kind of more secretive. And a lot of times people will leave them alone and not really talk to them so much. And they're kind of skirt around some of the questions maybe the dying person wants to talk about because they don't want to tell them that they're dying. So you kind of deal with both, do you tell them or do you not tell them? I would tell them, from my own culture and my own background, I would tell them that they are dying, and give them an opportunity to talk about that and to grieve with them and to let them talk about their anger, their hurt, their frustration, whatever they're going through, and walk through that with them. Mainly because if you don't tell them, they can guess and they pretty much know by the time they get really sick and nobody's talking about it, they kind of have catching on to the fact they're not going to make it. So those are just some thoughts that I have on those two different ways that that grief is looked at, whether you tell them, whether you don't. One of the things that I would do, though, is if somebody requests that I don't tell them, then I would not do that. I could offer, though, asking a person, if they say, do you think I'm dying? And say, what do you think is happening to you? And let them talk about it. So any thoughts about that, you all? In the Philippines, do people have a hard time telling people if they're going to die? Or do
Yes, they do.
Mm-hmm.
Some patients, they really have a hard time accepting that they're gonna die. I mean, telling that they're gonna die, they are dying.
Right.
But some patients, very few that I encountered in the hospital, would say that, yes, I am dying, so I am preparing myself, like that. But when I was listening at you, ma'am, you in your culture, you said that it's okay for you to say that, to say to the patients you are dying. I think for us here, it's really hard to tell that unless they say it. Yeah, and
what I did with my uncle is not well, and I know this afternoon I talked with him, and I just said to him, I said, your body is really having a hard time, and your kidneys are not good, and your leg, he does not have enough circulation in one of his legs, and he has a bad sore on it, and they may have to amputate this summer, and he knows that. He and I have talked about that. And, this afternoon I said, your body's really having a hard time keeping up. And so part of that, I'm hoping in the next few days we can talk about it some more. Mainly because I'm sure he knows in the back of his mind that he's not going to make it very long. I mean, he's already told me if he makes it 1 or 2 years, it'll be amazing. But it's something to allow him that time to be able to talk about it and to grieve it, and to because he knows it. It's probably more uncomfortable for me to talk about it with him because I don't want him to feel bad, but that the fact that he already is aware of it and knows it, it's usually more uncomfortable for us than it is for them. And maybe, I don't know, is it because it's hard for us to, it's hard for us with the grief ourselves to process through the grief and not wanting to. I mean, for me, when I think about talking with him about it, I think how sad it is for me and the sadness. And part of it, it's okay for me to be sad when I talk with him and we're sad together. Mm-hmm. I feel like sometimes I have to be strong for him, but I don't. And it's okay. We cry together. So it's, it's one of those tender moments of life when you can be with somebody and know that it's okay to let go of this life and to go on to heaven. And it's okay to do that. I know my father, before he died, the night before he died, I looked at him and I said, Dad, if you want to go on to heaven, I said, you go. I have Mom and I have, everything's going to be okay and we'll take care of her and we'll be fine. And when you're ready, it's okay. And the next day he died. So they're hard conversations to have, yes. But it's okay to have those conversations and to be, I don't know if you ever get comfortable having them, but it's okay to have them. Does that make sense? Yeah. So.
Yeah. For me,
any other comments? Yes.
Yeah. Most of the patient I engage with is like what you said, that they still have this hope to be cured, but on the other hand, they are also ready to die. Yeah.
Right.
So they always say it's up to God.
Exactly.
Yeah. They always say that. Most of the patient I've encountered. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and I know my uncle almost died at Christmas, and he was ready to die. I mean, and the doctor said he's going to die. Well, he didn't, and it was a miracle, and he made it, and he, was doing fine for several months until about 2 weeks ago, and now he's been in the hospital. Mm-hmm. And so, so there's the place of walking between how much hope do you give and where do you give the hope, because we have that hope and God can bring about miracles. I've seen it. He does it all the time. Not all the time, but I mean, he's a God of miracles. And there's other times when God chooses to bring them home to heaven, or if they don't know Christ, then that's also the other tragedy. But I think also sometimes people in the hospital or people that are sick are very depressed, and sometimes they need to have that hope that will help them, because a lot of these psychological stuff also affects their health. And as they begin to have some hope, but then there are those that and it's hard to pray. When I pray, I say, God, whatever your will is for my uncle, whatever your will is, we leave him in your hands and allow you to work in his life. And so, all right, let's go on to the next one. I'm taking too much time. We've got to get through this here. All right. These are some things that I took from your textbook. These are some effective coping and ways of dealing with grief, adjusting to the losses, finding support, having grief that's appropriate. Also, people go through depression sometimes with grief and loss, and that's can be appropriate, and to have a good view of God going through it. Okay, go to the next one. Now, sometimes there's not very effective coping mechanisms, and they are not able to resolve the guilt or the grief. One is regret. They say, oh, I just regret I did this, or this happened, and they get stuck in the regret. I should have, but I didn't, and that's why this happened. And they get so stuck on that. Some of them blame other people. They blame someone for what's happened, and they get stuck in blaming. Sometimes they become very bitter with what happened. Sometimes they go into depression and they can't get out of it, and they get stuck in the depression. Incomplete grieving. They have grieving that continues on, and there's not a lot of let up in that. Oftentimes when that happens, they're also in depression. Magical thinking. Here's something I did cause the situation. Go on to the next one. There's several different factors that Dr. Wright talks about, and they're in your textbook. We'll kind of go through some of these, not all of them, but these are how you can tell if somebody has not resolved their grief, and that they maybe need to get some counseling, or they need you to be with them to help them process more through their grief. One of it is when somebody really has not had any grief at all, or hasn't done any grief work at all. They just kind of go on like nothing's happened, and you think, they really haven't processed it. Another one is somebody who minimizes what happened. It's okay. It's not a problem. It was fine. Well, it was a big accident that somebody caused, and it's like, it's not fine. I mean, it was, that person caused it, and it's not fine. If they were drinking a lot or something like that, and they caused an accident, I would be angry. I would go through a lot of thoughts inside. So minimizing that. Yeah. Another one is instrumental grievers. Usually more men have this than women. They think about their grief and talk about it rather than feel the grief. And that's what he's talking about in there. Let's go on to the next slide. I'm just going to jump around to some of these. Somaticizer, these are the people that turn their grief into physical symptoms. They may end up with a stomach ache or headache all the time. It's really grief, but it comes up in some kind of a physical symptoms. Delayed grief, this is the person who delays it and puts it off and never really deals with it. And sometimes it comes up later and they have to be dealing with it. Next slide. Here's one that talks about displaced. You guys can always go back and read through these if you want to. And a lot of these are in your textbook. I just pulled it from Norman Williams' textbook. One is displace. This is when they sometimes channel their grief in another way and displace it. Like they may be angry with somebody which has nothing to do with the person that died or the loss or whatever. They displace it and put their anger or their frustration or their hurt on somebody else rather than on what it should be pointed at. Go on to the next one. Unanticipated grief is one of them here. It's really, this is something that you don't anticipate, and it's a shock to a person, and they have extremely difficult time working through it because it was so unexpected. So these are some things, some reasons or ways that people don't work through their grief and they need some extra help because of some of those things. Let's go on to, let's go 3 more slides. All right, one more. All right, this is one of the things I want to talk about, attachment style and coping with crisis. Now, when you all were born, you were raised in a family either with your parents or grandparents or with a significant adult that took care of you. Now, one of the issues with grief is that if you had a real secure, caring, loving family when you were growing up, chances are this is going to help you a great deal in how you deal with grief. If you didn't, then there's going to be some issues possibly dealing with grief because of this attachment. So this is just talking about that. That bond and attachment is really important to help you deal with future grief. All right, let's go on to the next one. The next one is a secure attachment. And this is when you have safety, your needs are met, you feel loved. Then when you become an adult, when you go through grief, you're able to create a meaningful relationship that's a reciprocal in nature, empathetic, and able to set healthy boundaries. So when you end up with some kind of a grief, you respond by being able to navigate through the grief and support and normal coping mechanisms, have normal coping mechanisms because you had that normal secure attachment as a child. All right, the next slide talks a little bit about that as well. Go next one. This is basically the same thing as the other one. And you all can read through this. After a loss of an important attachment figure through death, the person with secure attachment will be able to process the grief and internalize the deceased into him or herself as a substitute for previous physical proximity. He is sustained by the mental representation of the deceased with less need for physical presence no longer available. He's not overwhelmed with the loss of the loved one. Okay? So you're able to deal with that loss and able to go on and make it through and not have a difficult time. They say about 1 in 10 people probably have a difficult time with grief or end up having abnormal grief. And so some of this is due to the secure attachment or lack of secure attachment. Now the next slide talks about avoidant attachment. Now, these are children that often experienced a parent or significant adult as unavailable, dismissive, rejecting. And because they were rejected and pushed away, they had to learn how to be pretty self-sufficient and independent and to be on their own. They had to learn how to take care of themselves. So as an adult, they tend to avoid closeness or emotional connection, because what happens if they get emotionally close? They feel like they're going to be rejected, and they don't know how to have those close bonds. They come across as critical, rigid, resistant, or intolerant. As an adult, they're sometimes compulsive, self-reliant, and somatization is common. That means they end up with like a stomach ache or a headache or whatever, when the real issue is lack of relationships in their life. All right, go ahead. Yep. Yes. You mean as far as talking about the different types of attachment? Well, I think part of working with couples is doing some education. I think part of them is helping them to see some of the issues going on. Also learning how to communicate is the other issue. A lot of them don't know how to sit down and listen to each other. I think that's oftentimes part of the problem. When it comes to different kind of attachment, part of that is just also them learning what kind of childhood they had and how that affects them now as an adult and how they connect together. If one did not have a very loving home growing up, what are they going to be like? That's going to cause some big issues. They're going to want to be more independent because they're afraid of getting close. So some of it is just learning about the family systems and the family and how a lot of what happened in their childhood affects what's happening now. The other piece of it is learning how to communicate. And a lot of it is learning how to talk with each other. A lot of it's learning the kind of sentences I've been teaching you about counseling. Sometimes I teach couples to say, I feel whatever the feeling is when you do, and whatever it is. And I help to teach them not to criticize them as persons, but to maybe point out the behavior that is causing the issue. I feel frustrated when you come home late all the time, or I feel sad when you put me down in front of other people, or I feel, and I tell them to, put the feeling in when you do whatever. There was another counselor that, I forgot their names. Two famous counselors, I'll think of their names later. But one of the things they said is that to sit down with your spouse once a week and talk about, I think it is 3 things that was helpful that week, or that you really loved about the other person, or 2 things, I forgot. And then share 1 thing that was a problem and that they needed help, or could we change, or what could we do to make it better? So there's some different things that can be done. The other thing is learning about love languages. Have you all studied some about love languages that people have? Have any of y'all studied that in counseling at all? Some people feel loved if you tell them verbally that you love them. Some people feel loved if you do give them small gifts. Not big gifts, but just little things like a little Hershey candy bar, little kisses, or if you make a card and give them, and draw a picture on it or something. They like gifts and they feel loved. Other people feel loved if you do what they call acts of service. And if you do things that would help them out by making the bed in the morning, or by getting coffee and taking it to your spouse when they're working, or things like that. Just little things that you do to help. Other people feel loved if they're, I think it's like touch. Some people like it with you hold hands, or if you give a kiss, or if you just put their arm around, and that's how they feel loved. And there's one more, and I can't think of what that is. Verbal gifts, act of service, touch, and there's one more. So part of it is learning about the other person's way. Oh, affirmation. They feel loved if they are affirmed. And so some of this is teaching with couples about what the other spouse is needing from them, and how to give that to the other spouse. You've got to have to learn their love language. If they need verbal, I think verbal is one of them, or maybe that comes under affirmation. I'll have to look for next time we get together. I can put something up for you all. But some of these are just teaching things that you can help couples with. See what I mean? Mhm. Right. 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 Um, I think some of that too depends on the relationship you have with the couple. Um, new couples might come to you more and ask for more help. I don't know, rather than, older couples. I think there's some education, a marriage retreat or a marriage seminar or those kinds of things you can have in the church. You can suggest books for married couples, different ones that might be helpful. I think there's different ways to do some teaching that might help couples that are not necessarily counseling. One of the difficulties too in the Philippines is it's hard for people to go get marriage counseling because there's not many marriage counselors around. And if there are, it's expensive or you have to pay, and some couples, can't afford that. So it really kind of puts you in a bind because a lot of times the pastor is the one that they have to come to for help. Where else do they go for help if a couple has problems? Are there people they go to? Do they go to older family members, or I don't know. Well, look at the kind of questions or the kind of counseling statements that we learn to use. You can go to a couple and say, how are you guys doing? And just use an open-ended question. Or especially for new couples that are newly married within the first couple, 2 or 3 years. After you marry them, you may want to say, why don't we get together at 6 months and then a year and just do a checkup or check in and see how you're doing. And that might be a good thing. You get together with you and your wife and another young couple, and you all go out and go have a merienda or something together and talk about, what's it been like being married? What are the hard things you've gone through? What are some things that you've really enjoyed and really loved about being together? Sometimes I think if you can get some of those issues dealt with early on in a marriage versus way late, that helps. And they also know that you're available and that you are interested in them. That can help as well. So, go ahead. Um, when I'm out with my friends, I don't have my counselor hat on. I just hang out with them and just do stuff with them, and I can take my counselor hat off. I think it's a little harder for you sometimes as a pastor to take your pastor hat off. Does that make sense? Because people in your church see you in that role. I know when I was a missionary, it was hard to take the missionary hat off because they always see you in that role. But I think it's a little easier to take the counselor hat off. Does that make sense? But you can always use open-ended questions with people and say, marriage isn't always easy. I wonder how you guys are doing. If you feel like they're having a hard time or something, or say, or have a retreat, or have somebody come and a counselor come and do a marriage seminar, or have somebody from the seminary come and do something in your church. That, part of this is also teaching, and helping couples learn some new ways to communicate, learn new ways to talk, learn new ways to solve problems, deal with issues. Sometimes just for couples to learn from each other that other people are having the same kinds of problems, then they feel like, oh, then I'm not totally off. I'm not totally wrong or totally whatever, because I didn't realize other people had problems like that. Sometimes couples, when they finally realize others struggle with that same thing, then they don't feel so bad about it. I don't know. I probably need to go ahead and go through the rest of the video, the PowerPoint, but I hope that is helpful. I don't know if I chased too many rabbits or did too much talking, but I hope that helped a little bit. All right, let's go on. Some of these, the main ones that you need to look at are the ones that have those columns. Then these are just some other things here about the ones that have some columns. Another one here is avoidant. Let's see, which one am I? Oh, I'm ambivalent now. Okay, ambivalent. This is when kids are, when they're children, sometimes the parents are available for them, and sometimes the parents aren't. Sometimes the parents really reject the child, and at other times the parent is okay and affirming of the child. So the child is, go ahead. Okay, did we do avoidant? Oh, sorry. Okay, we'll go back and avoidant, sorry. All right. This is when a dismissive, learning to be self. Yep, we did talk about that. Okay. Ambivalent. So this poor kid is like, I don't know if I'm loved or not loved. And, if I go to my parent, maybe they'll be mad at me this time. But then other times I go to my parent and I'm accepted by my parent. So I don't know what to do. And they end up being really anxious and pretty insecure because they don't know what's going to happen. So when they have a grief or a loss, they have a very difficult time getting over that grief or loss. And they have a hard time coping and a hard time functioning. And the grief may go on and on and on, and they may have a real struggle. So those are the kind of people that you may be working with more. The kind that grew up in families where they had a very difficult situation. The parent was sometimes good and sometimes not good, and the child was kind of between the two and not sure if they were loved or not loved, or if they go to the parent, maybe the parent won't like them, or maybe sometimes the parent will, and sometimes, and that happens. All right, next one. Disorganized. And I'll leave this video up for you guys to do, and you can read more information about these types of situations. Now, this last one is disorganized. And these are kids that have really grown up in dealing with trauma, abuse. They have been very scared. They have been through a lot of difficulties in their childhood. They're very scared of the parents, very frightened, a lot of anxiety. They feel very vulnerable. Oftentimes, the parents maybe were on drugs. Sometimes they have been abused. But when they go through a grief process, and they lose something or somebody dies, it really triggers a lot of the previous trauma they've been through. And so they struggle because they desperately want to have some kind of support, and yet they're afraid, and they also need distance. So part of them is scared to get support, but they crave it, but yet they're scared to get close because they don't know what's going to happen. They don't know who to trust. And so these are the kinds of kids that when there's a loss in their life, they have an extremely, extremely difficult time. So hopefully that gives you some idea of the importance or the help of knowing about a little bit about their childhood or about their family, so you can know how to help minister to them. Or if you see them having an extremely difficult time, you can think through, oh, something's going on with their childhood and the parents, and hopefully that will be helpful. All right, the last part of that is working through your grief, and these are just some factors that I put up a couple PowerPoints here. A couple of the slides at the very end. Oh, okay, let's look at this question. Did you all recognize your attachment style when you went through that?
I'm secure, ma'am.
If you had secure or if you had avoidant, that's parents that really kind of rejected you, or if you had ambivalent parents that sometimes were there for you and sometimes weren't there for you, or if you went through a lot of trauma in childhood. Let's any other insights you gained from that? Any other comments about attachment styles and how people deal with grief? All right.
I was just wondering,
Yeah.
if it's possible to experience a different attachment style as a child, and then when you become a parent, you develop a different parenting style. Like,
Yes, you
is
can.
that possible?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think it sometimes it's a process of some healing and understanding what happened to you and making some decisions and to make some changes. Sometimes too, if you grew up in a family that was not loving and you married a spouse that's very loving and you were with maybe his family that's very loving and were able to find a church family that's very caring, and you can learn to grow, and I think there's some healing that happens. I think just to be aware of the different styles and then to realize the changes that can happen, and the other thing is with your relationship with God, learning to have a relationship with God that's a very loving God that cares deeply for you. Sometimes that's a struggle though, because people that grew up with parents that are not loving, it's hard for them to see God as a loving father. Sometimes it's easier for them to see God as like a mother hen that puts the wings out to protect you, as more of a female type rather than a male, because they look at men as, especially if they've been raped by a man or had some really negative situations happen because of a man. Sometimes it's hard for them to see God as a male figure. Yeah, healing can come, and you can find some really caring and loving people as you're going through teen years and young adult years that help make those changes. Mm-hmm. All right, a couple of last ones here is working through your grief. These are just some things that I put down that H. Norman Wright had in his in the textbook there. A lot of this is from your textbook. Identify when you're working with someone with grief. It's important to identify what doesn't make sense to you about, or for you personally, what doesn't make sense to you about your loss. What is it that is bothering you the most about that loss? That's the next slide. Yeah. So these are some things when you work through your grief. Identify things that don't make sense to you about your loss. What's really bothering you the most? Another thing is identify the emotions you feel and how intense those emotions are. What is the emotion? Is it the anger, the grief, sadness, the depression, and how intense they are? Think about what actions are you taking to help you move ahead or overcome your loss. You know, what is helping you get out of the pit or help you get out of the rut or the hole, or what are you doing to help you move to a more healthy situation? Share the loss and grief with others who can listen and support you. Find a support group around, or people that are there to be listeners and to help process that grief with you. Find a person who has experienced a similar loss. Oftentimes that's really great to hear somebody talk about a similar loss, like if you've had a stillbirth, a baby that came early or didn't survive, or somebody who's lost a child, or certain kinds of losses. If you find somebody that's also gone through that same experience, sometimes it's good to share those experiences together. I know our church had a group called, it was Grief Share, and every week they would get together and talk about grief, different aspects of grief, and they met for like, I guess, a semester, like 14 weeks, and it was really good. We had a lot that were widows or widowers, and they were able to talk about what that's like for them. So sometimes having a group like that, if you know several that have gone through some kind of losses or grief, if they want to share and meet once a week for an hour and a half or so. I don't know if people there are open to that or not. I know here in the United States, we have groups like that will meet at churches and invite other people from other churches if they want to come, kind of a grief group. Another one, identify the positive characteristics and strengths of your life that have helped you before with loss. There's some positive things about all of us, and that can help us get through that. So think about those things, what can help you. Dr. Wright talked about reading the Psalms, and I think Psalms is a great book to read when you're going through grief. When you pray, share your confessions, your feelings, and your hopes with God. Let him know how you feel and what you're going through. Think about where you want to be in life 2 years from now. I think that's great for people that have gone through a loss, or have lost a spouse, or widower. Where do they want to be in 2 years from now? Sometimes they're stuck in the present and they need some help getting up to the future. Another one, be familiar with the stages of grief, which is denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance, lots of times they don't know that what they're going through is a really normal feeling. I mean, if they're angry, that's normal. That's a normal stage of grief. Sometimes they're depressed. Well, that's a normal stage of grief. Understanding that your grief intellectually is not sufficient. You have to be able to work through that on a feeling level and not just intellectually. For most people, I would say there may be a few that, like my husband, who's more intellectual and would probably process things more on an intellectual level, but I try to help them, people process through in a emotional level. So that's basically it. There's one more that just has a verse here. It says, "My soul weeps because of grief. Strengthen me according to your will," or to your word. So, any thoughts, any comments about this PowerPoint? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I trying to help somebody process grief emotionally. I know with my husband, he lost his sister. I don't know that he ever really talked about it on a really emotional level. It was more on an intellectual level. But that was sort of his way of processing it. So there may be some out there that deal with it more on an intellectual level, but if possible, help them to process it on a feeling level if you can. I mean, but for him, he was able to process it on more of an intellectual level. I mean, he may have been able to do some of that on his own where I didn't know about that, but being able to let them talk about the feelings they have going through that. It was hard for him because he was not able to label his feelings. So I think that was different. I think he's pretty unique about who he is in that area. Okay.
Question, ma'am.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Sorry. Regarding okay, I just want to ask, for example, someone experience a loss of, let's say, I previously talked about some counseling someone who lost their like confidence in life because they thought they were really good with their grades, and then suddenly when they transferred to another school, they weren't performing that well.
Mm-hmm.
And so how do you help someone to be able to deal with those kind of things? Because I'm worried that this person is now going to college, and I'm afraid if this person would experience another like failure, I think he won't take it and he can't take it anymore. So I'm trying to help him like be stronger in terms of understanding that things have to be this way sometimes. So yeah.
What do you all think? What are what's some, after all this, some things we've been talking about, what do you all think? What are some suggestions you would give to Collins?
Collins, I'd just like to clarify. So this happened when he transferred to a different school.
Not really, ate.
Uh,
It's just that he transferred from high school to senior high school,
mm,
different school, and then
it was a
his
different
senior high
school.
school was really a bad experience for him because he was an honor student during his lower grades, and then when he transferred to his senior high, yeah, he wasn't performing that well. And so he was saying that if I would ever experience this in college, I think I can't take it anymore. So I don't know. I'm
Oh,
just worried that he, because he suddenly became like, he feels like he wants to end it, something like that.
oh.
Is he
Yeah.
suicidal, Collins?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I had to ask because I was thinking maybe the transition to a different school is a factor, although it's just senior high. Maybe he is experiencing a certain kind of loss because transitions are always hard.
Mhm.
Siguro, no, it's a new environment, new system, and all that. So I don't know. Maybe he has to navigate that aspect before he could deal with being able to get back to being an excellent student.
Yes, but I'm just curious, like how do I put it? Like I'm just worried that if he ever experiences such, I mean, it's, we're not sure if he can get back to being an honor student again or something like that. So how can he deal with that? Like, how can he be okay with not being an honor student?
So being an honor student is wrapped up in his self-worth.
I think so, ma'am.
So what gives him self-worth?
Yes, ma'am. More on the grades. I think he mentioned before that, like, that's where he is known at. That's where he is known for. And so if he loses that kind of status, then he's not worthy or he's not valuable for others. I think that's it.
So, so go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, actually, I did solutions based. I also did CBT, but this person is really like, he doesn't actually accept some of these methods. I mean, it's not effective. I don't know. Yeah, thank you, Pastor. But however, I think one needs to be cooperative first. Like, for in this case, he would always say, when I try to like use techniques, he would always say, I don't know. I like, he wouldn't feel very cooperative. So I don't know. That's my problem. I can ask a lot of questions. However, it depends on him whether he responds or not.
Remember open-ended questions.
Yes, ma'am. Even open-ended questions, he would answer. I don't know.
Um, it's, I wonder what what his parents are thinking in all of this. Or is this does he feel like he's loved by his parents, or is this his parents pushing him, or does he feel like his parents don't have a lot of money, so if he didn't get high grades, he can't get into college? Is this some of the stress? Or, you know, because he might be able to get in if he has high grades, but he doesn't have high grades, so he feels like he's not going to be able to go, or he'll be a failure, or his self-worth, sounds like his self-worth is all wrapped up in grades. And the other thing is the loss is, you know, he's not doing as well. So what are the feelings that come when you want to do well and you're not doing well? It's, and the other thing is, I don't know his idea of he did really, really well and now he's not doing so well. Does that mean he was an A student, now he's a B student? Well, that's good. I mean, that sounds good to me. You know, I don't know what his standards are so high that he can't reach them, you know. So I don't know. Was he an A student and now he's really a D student or a C- student? You know, that's different than he's a. Sometimes they say, oh, I'm just doing terrible. And I say, well, what's your average? Oh, it's a B+, but I need an A. I've got to have an A or I'm not, you know, I'm not a good student. And I'm like, oh, you're kidding. So I don't know, you know, where that is. If he's,
Yeah, he's more of a, ma'am, he's more of like, he used to be A plus student. Now he's a B-, something like
oh,
that. Something
okay.
like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Right.
Yeah, I think he's still working on that because I'm trying to, time and time again, I would introduce him to the idea, and like I would tell him that your worth is not in your grades, it's in who
Right.
Jesus Christ is. So yeah, but he's still trying, like having difficult time like absorbing it. Yeah.
And transition to a new school is hard. I mean, there's a lot of loss going on for him. You know, his grades, new place, new students, new, you know, he's dealing with a lot of change going on, what's going on with developmentally, where he's at with his body and the changes that are happening there. The emotions, the hormones, I mean, there's a lot of things that goes on in that developmental stage as well. You know, how he looks at himself. Does he feel like he's handsome or, you know, accepted by people? Does he have friends? There's so many things that's wrapped up also in self-esteem besides just grades.
Yeah, for me, maybe you can try to explore more on the expectation of others about him, expectation of the parents or his friends or people around him, and ask how he feels about those expectations. And yeah, I think it's very important for him to know his identity, that his identity is not based on his performance.
Yes.
Thank you po.
Okay. Any other comments tonight? Any other thoughts? Any thoughts about the exercise, the verbatim that you're going to be writing?
I think Gerald and Gege ma'am is raising their hands.
Okay. Yeah, you guys can write anything about something about a loss somebody's going through, or experienced or whatever. Don't use their real name, please. I don't need to know who it is. If you guys want to do something with each other, you're welcome. If you're on campus there and you want to do something with each other and do a session with each other, you can do that and write it up in a verbatim. Just don't tell me who it is. Okay. All right. Gigi?
Gerald, you want to go first? I think you raised your hand first.
Yeah, I think I'm good, Kuya. You can.
Okay. All right. Ma'am, I have a question.
Uh-huh.
It's something a bit similar to Kuya Collins' situation, although a bit different as well. So I have a friend who recently graduated college, and she took the the board exam for a certain field in engineering, but unfortunately she did not pass, and now she expressed that she feels like she's being left behind by her peers. My first question is can that be counted as grief? You feel like
Sure.
you lost something?
Sure.
Okay, and so for a few months she was really feeling sad, but now she's in a sense distracted. She's having fun playing pickleball, and she doesn't mention the sadness anymore. So she plays pickleball like 2 to 3 times a week.
Okay.
My question is, can that be considered a healthy way of processing your grief, being distracted by something entirely different from what you were feeling sad about in the past? Is that healthy, ma'am?
For her, she may have been able to work through the grief of that rather quickly and has moved on, or it may be that she still may need to process some more of that. It just really depends, like if she's going to take the test again and she's working hard to study to take it again, then pickleball may be good because she's going crazy trying to study and needs some outlet. So I don't know where she's at. You know what I mean? So, you just have to find out where she's at. But I think the reality when you take those heavy tests, if you don't pass them, a lot of people go into it knowing not everybody passes, and they know that there may be the fact that they'll have to take it again. So I think most of us, I took nursing boards and I went into it thinking, I'm not sure if I'm going to pass or not. And I did, but I also knew that I may have to take it again. So I think that may not be that, the grief may not be that huge to her, because she may be studying and working toward doing it again. I don't know. It depends how she processes that loss and what she thinks. Sure. All right. All right. Sure. I think there's different ways that people process or work through grief. One of it may be going out and run, going out and just pickleball, or going out and doing something athletic, or going out for walks, or going out doing something physical. I think helps your body, because when you're working through grief, your brain is dealing with all this anxiety and sadness and grief and depression and all this stuff, and doing something physical may be a really helpful thing. Especially once you can start to get out of the depression. If you're depressed or down, getting out and doing something physical would probably be something very healthy for your body, to help you to move on and to get going, to help you process, to help you get through through it. I would say doing something physical or getting out and doing something. When people sometimes are depressed, they'll stay home and want to sleep all the time or not get out or not do anything. By getting out and doing something, going shopping or going to visit somebody or to go to the beach or to go to church or to go, sometimes getting up and moving and getting out with people can be a really healthy thing when they've gone through a lot of grief. Right. And to be able to start to get out again in society, or to get beyond it and to find some healing with it, learning how to well, one of the things it says here is, where do you want to be in 2 years? Most people who've gone through grief, they don't want to be stuck in the depression or stuck in the anger or stuck in the, and so part of that is helping them move through it and get beyond that. You know, I think for the first like 6 months, they may be in the middle of that, but then how do you help them get out? And also remember, grief is kind of goes ups and downs. It's not just one straight line. It kind of goes ups and downs. I mean, at some points you're doing really well, and other points you're not doing so well, and then you start to get a little better, and then you go down again. So it goes up and down, and after a while, it doesn't go up and down so much. Does that make sense? And you're able to move on out. So how do we help them be able to move through those ups and downs in a healthy way, to move on out and be able to find a new way? Then they're going to be able to live without their spouse, or without a child, or without, a friend, or without something. How do we help them find a new way of living? Because there will always be a sense of some grief, but how do you help them find a new way to live? How do you help them with God to be able to know how to move on in a healthy way?
Hello, ma'am.
Okay, any other thoughts?
Yeah, I think the easiest way we can cope with grief is to find a new normal, as I remember from our
Yes.
PC1 po.
Yes, a
In
new
relation-
normal.
In
Excellent.
relation to Kuya Colin's situation, like maybe like what Kuya Colin said, he transferred to a new school, and that maybe that student is stuck from the past where he is known for being an A student, and then when he got transferred, he's somehow trying to prove that, and yeah, he failed, and that's why he's trying to say, like, if he cannot do it, he cannot take it anymore. So I think one thing that Kuya Collins is trying to help him find new normals, that yeah, this is you now, and it's not a bad thing that you're just a regular student, or you can be a student anymore. So I think that's the one thing we can go for grief.
And it may be a new normal for him. He may, as he goes on, even gets into college, it may be that he may be a B student. And
True.
what I wonder, what does that mean to him then, to be a B student? I mean, what does that mean to him? Have him talk about. It means I'm a failure. It means I'm no good. It means I'm not smart. It means well, it's none of those things. He is smart. He's making a B and doing great. But in his eyes, he's not. And what does that mean to be a new normal for him? I like that. Thank you for sharing that. Okay. Anything else? Well, thank you all. You guys have worked hard. I look forward to reading your verbatims, and when you write down what you've said and then what the other person said, what you said, put beside whatever you say, put beside it, whether it's an open-ended question or if it happened to be a closed question or if it's an observation statement. You don't need to put beside what the counselee said, just what you said. And then at the end, I think there were some questions that I asked about that. So look at the assignment I think it's in unit, is it 4? And I think in unit 4, and see what information it has there for that. Okay. Thank you guys for being here. Mark, thank you for joining us. We're glad you came today.
Thank you, Mom.
Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you all.
Thank you, ma'am.
Have a good night po.
Anything else I can help better with next week? Anything different? No what? No quizzes. You all took your quiz this week. We don't have a quiz next week. You don't have a quiz until July. Wait a minute. Oh yeah, you have a quiz July 12th. But the quizzes aren't that hard. You guys will do great. They're not that difficult. I have this PowerPoint. There was another PowerPoint that was up that I closed out. I can turn that one on. I think this was more clear. This one was clearer than the other one. So I'll just leave this one up and not the other one. Okay. Anything else you all need from me tonight or this morning? You're okay? Is 8:30? Pardon? Is 8:30 okay still with everybody?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. I will see you next week, and we will talk about crisis and trauma. The next week we'll do trauma. So we'll just stick with this same link that we used tonight, okay? And we'll do 8:30. I think it says 8, but we'll do 8:30. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Have a great week.
Noted, ma'am.
Likewise,
Thank you so
ma'am.
much.
Thank you.
Ma'am.
Enjoy
You too.
ministering.
Good night.
to people.